Welcome to the World News. I'm Randolph Jamias on Myanmar International. Let's start the news in Chile. A People's Summit is being held in University of Chile in parallel with the CELAC-EU Summit in Santiago, bringing together social groups from across Latin America and Europe. This is a very different summit running from Friday to Sunday on a university campus, while heads of state and business leaders from across Latin America and Europe meet in conference centers and five-star hotels across Santiago for the CELAC-EU Summit. Attendants to the People's Summit are discussing the future of the world, but from a very different perspective. Indigenous groups across Latin America, women and youth organizations, movements concerned about the environment, and many more are here for a peaceful gathering in which they hope to forge links across continents, but from the grassroots level. In another story, this time in the Netherlands, glowing lanes on highways could spell the end of costly street lighting, according to a Dutch designer. Dan Roosengaard's smart highway involves photoluminescent paint markings on roads that are charged in sunlight and glow at night to denote lanes. Let's find out more.
Don Roosengaarde believes his smart highway project spells the end for traditional road lighting. The Dutch designer says his glowing lanes will allow road users to drive safely on highways at night without the need for street lamps. The lanes are created with photoluminescent paint coated on roads. The paint absorbs sunlight during daylight hours and releases the energy at night, with enough power to glow in the dark for up to 10 hours. Roosengaarde says photosensitive paint will be more cost-effective than energy-intensive street lighting. He says inspiration for the project came from the sea world.
What you see now is that there is an incredible amount of hardware needed to have something very immaterial, which is light. So these gigantic street lamps and cables and wires and maintenance. And I was always amazed by that. I'm like, why can't we just look at how jellyfishes behave? Deep underwater, they have their own light.
The designer's company, Studio Roosengaarde, has worked on the project with Heijmans, a leading Dutch road manufacturer. Heijmans' head of sales, Crystal van Haren, says it's the technology of the future.
This is a technology in which there is an additive, a photo eliminator additive, in which it charges during the day, and during the night it releases the energy. So basically it glows in the dark at night. So the infrastructure of the future is much more about the interaction with the user of the infrastructure and much more about the sustainability of the infrastructure. So the road being the source of energy.
The concepts will be tested later this year on a 150-metre stretch of highway in Brabant province. But there's more to the smart highway project than photoluminescent paint. Other plans include induction priority lanes to charge electric vehicles as they drive over the road. Another involves painting fluorescent snowflakes invisible in normal weather conditions. When temperatures fall, the flakes are designed to glow, warning drivers of emissions. In an energy-conscious world, Roosengaarde believes intelligent design is a vital component in future technologies. He says it's simply a matter of seeing the light.
Now in Italy, waterborne fantasy creatures took over the famed Venice waterways to mark the opening of the Lagoons city's annual carnival on Saturday evening. The theme for the 2013 edition is Live in Color, and the parade of the fairy tale-like characters got things off to a stylish start. Balls held in Venetian palaces, concerts, and gondola parades are organized throughout the 17-day carnival, which runs until February 12. Thousands of tourists from across Italy and the world every year crowd the city's canals, bridges, and squares to marvel at the colorful display of masks and costumes. The Carnevale di Venezia is one of the oldest carnivals in the world. The carnival's end marks the beginning of Lent and signals the start of Venice's tourist season, which runs into the autumn. And now let's head to Hamburg, Germany, where another pair of exhibitions is devoted to Swiss artist Alberto Giacometti. As a sculptor and painter, he was one of the shining lights of the 20th century modernism, and his trademark skinny figures often held critics at loggerheads. His work is difficult to categorize, and yet these two exhibitions show the key influence of surrealism throughout his obra.
people and spaces. Sculptor Alberto Giacometti spent his life exploring the tension between them. Hamburg's Kunsthalle is exhibiting 120 works by the artists who died in 1966. Alberto Giacometti grew up in a Swiss mountain village. At age 21, he went to Paris. The life of the city and the activity in its streets fascinated him. He interpreted the interplay of people and space in his work. He got the idea to transform entire squares into works of art. To Giacometti, art and life were inseparable. An exhibition highlight is L'Homme qui marche, the walking man. It sold for a world record sum of 75 million euros at auction in 2010. It was intended to stand with two other sculptures in New York City. In 1960, he hoped to place his art in the thick of life with his work, The Playing Fields, but he was dissatisfied with the result and abandoned the project. To complement the Kunsthalle exhibition, the Bucerius Kunstforum, a private gallery in Hamburg, is showing portraits by the artist. Prominent figures of the time often sat for Giacometti. Artist Henri Matisse, composer and pianist Igor Stravinsky, and philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre. His own family was a source of inspiration. He made portraits of his parents, his siblings, and his wife Annette in countless works.
He was very inspired by the ideas of the existentialists. For him, it was about capturing the liveliness, say in the sitter's gaze, and conveying that sense of liveliness to the viewer.
The exhibition has brought more than 300 works to Hamburg, for a rare opportunity to see such a comprehensive collection of works by one of the titans of 20th century art.
Here in Myanmar, thousands of people took to the streets on Sunday to watch hundreds of runners compete for the country's first international marathon in Yangon. 220 foreigners and 80 locals participated in the event. They started from Yangon's People's Park and ran around the city in 3 races, 1.9 miles, 6.2 miles, and 42 miles. Many were happy to just be a part of history. The winner of the 42K race, Kariuki from Kenya, finished at 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 13 seconds, and received a $2,500 cash prize. The entrance fee was $5.88. Other cash prizes were given out to the male and female winners of 42K and 10K races. And in golf, Tiger Woods' bid for a 75th PGA Tour victory was put on hold on Saturday when thick fog forced postponement of the Farmers Insurance Open third round. Initial tee times were pushed back 3 hours before play eventually started at Torrey Pines, but the action was halted just 5 minutes later as visibility deteriorated. Former world number 1 Woods leads the tournament by 2 shots, having taken control with a superb 7-under par 65 in rain-sodden conditions during Friday's second round. A 6-times champion in the PGA Tour event at Torrey Pines, Woods finished at 11 under 133 with little-known American Billy Horschel alone in second after carding a 69. 6 players were bunched at 8 under. Woods has gone on to win 34 times out of 44 when holding at least a share of 36-hole lead on the PGA Tour, and he heads a relatively weak leaderboard going into the final 2 rounds. Of his 14 closest pursuers, only Australian John Senden and American Nick Watney have previously won on the PGA Tour. We'll be back for more. Please stay with us.